everybody. Welcome to the Based Podcast. I don't know what number we're on. It's been...
I want to say 7, maybe 8.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
We're sitting with Justin Smolian, who's from Dirty Honey, which is a band you've been really hip to.
Super into.
I am just recently turned on to and have been marathoning all of your music because it is awesome.
Yeah. Just like monster rock and roll riffage.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys get compared to like the big stuff, Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses. There's AC/DC in there, there's Zeppelin in there, it's all of it. But just like
our 4 biggest influences right there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Right on. But rock and roll giants just keeping the gauntlet rolling. So dude, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We like to dive. We like to take some of the questions that we don't feel like, artists get in other interviews, especially bass players, where, it's usually really conceptual or it's like kind of about the band's history or whatever. But we really want to get into kind of the stuff other people don't talk about, which is like gear, feel, like your role as a bass player. Your role, we could even talk about like your role as a bass player who gives interviews and stuff for the band, because that's not always typical. So, but yeah, I mean, we talked about it's like this really cool, familiar, but big rock sound. Can you kind of tell us about some of the basses you're playing or what led you to the bass?
So I started playing bass when I was 12. It was my first instrument. And I picked up guitar after 6 months or a year also because I like writing songs. And like early bass influences were like Paul McCartney and Flea. And I was really into like the grunge scene when I started. I love Robert DeLejo. Like I learned that whole first STP record when I was a kid. So those were like early influences, and then obviously like John Paul Jones and just all the big guys. And like right after high school, I got a gig playing at the Beverly Hills Hotel and like a Motown tribute. Nice. So I had to learn like 50 Motown songs. So I obviously got like super heavy in Jamerson after that.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's
like
how you cut your teeth, man.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a big part of like how I like to play. I feel like he's very obviously very groove oriented, but he's also a very lyrical bass player, and I tend to lead towards lyrical bass players.
Yep.
Yeah.
More guys that play melodies on the bass, along with obviously holding down the foundation and playing the groove.
Sure.
Totally. Yeah, we were kind of talking, I think it's in Gypsy specifically. It's a real, you're using every bit of real estate that you've got on that line. And we're kind of talking, it's kind of cool that you're able to do that, especially maybe in a live scenario, because you guys play as a 3-piece band, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So do you find that you have more space to do that, or is that more just like the default how you play?
It's a little bit of both, but definitely in this band, I have so much space to fill that I do like some of my favorite bands, like you guys mentioned, were like Aerosmith and Guns N' Roses and Rolling Stones is another one. And they're all 2 guitar player bands. And my favorite, but the things that I really love about those is like how the guitars will kind of weave in and out, like somebody will play a line and then somebody will answer it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I try and bring that concept into our band, but there's no second guitar player. So John will play a line, I'll respond to it and stuff like that. Or, you'll hear little lead bass lines poke out here and there.
Yeah, man.
Was that ever like a conversation you had where like you guys going into it were like, hey, we're not going to be a 2 guitar player band? Because that's what, even hearing the record, I kind of expected to hear that. But like as a bass player, that means I get to have way more fun. Yeah. And it seems like you use quite a few effects, or you use effects, as part of your sound. Was that ever something that just happened, or...
I'd say it's just something that happened, and then once we started doing all the interviews, we started talking about it, and I was like, "Yeah, that's what I've been doing." And he's like, "Yeah, I guess that's what you've been doing too."
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Yeah. And he even jokes about it. He's like, a lot of the time I'm just like, being a guitar player. Got this. I hate these stands. Sorry, hold on.
No, you're fine, man.
Yeah, sometimes he has to hold down the role of like a funk guitar player where he's really playing rhythm guitar while I'm up there doing some lead parts, and then obviously the roles reverse. But yeah, I use a lot of effects, and I split my signal. So I use 2 amps. I use a clean and a dirty amp.
Nice.
Cool.
And I've got the Dark Glass Vintage Ultra kind of running the whole time on my dirty channel.
Mm-hmm.
I'll show you guys my pedal board in a little bit.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, sick.
So yeah, that definitely helps like fill up the sound.
Sure.
I really was really able to start doing the 2 rig thing like about a year ago, just because like we've gotten bigger. So now we have people to carry my amps because I wasn't going to carry 2 amps.
Yep.
That's awesome. So those go with you every time. You're taking 2. That's non-negotiable.
Yeah, well, it's just become such a part of the set because that's how I made the records too. And like the first year touring, I wasn't able to do the 2 amp thing because we were in we didn't even have the room in the Sprinter van, honestly, to put a second amp. And yeah, I'm playing all Aguilar gear.
So both rigs are Aguilar?
Yeah. I use the AG700 typically, the small guy, but I'm not bringing them to Europe because they've got some DB751s. I would like, the big guys, so I use those.
Yeah.
And yeah, we went to Europe over the summer also, and like that was kind of my first experience getting to use like the 2 big stadium rigs. I'm like in an actual stadium too, so it was pretty legit. And I'm like, I can't go back.
Yeah. Life goals.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I feel like once you taste that, you're like, well, now I'm here. This is where we're staying. So.
Yeah, I played a show that they backlined it was a reissue 70s SVT, not kind of the classic one. And it was the best I had ever heard my bass. And so I got home and I was like, okay, I'm finally going to buy a big boy head. And I got it. And now I'm in that kind of dilemma where it's like, but do I put it in the van? Do I play without
it's so
it?
heavy.
Yeah, no one's helping me. Well, that's not true. My bandmates are very nice. But like at the end of the day, I'm going to have to carry this one day way too far.
And they're pretty fragile too. Like
they're very,
I had my buddies and we like, took it out of a truck one time and just like jostled it. And, next thing we know, $200 repair job.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I'm usually the tubeless heads most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough world to live in when you're going to put vintage gear through that kind of turmoil. It's like, yeah, you're getting the vintage sound, but at the same time, I mean, you can't just go to Guitar Center in Lincoln, Nebraska, and replace it when it busts on you getting out of the van or whatever. So that's interesting the way that you nail that, because I feel like you have such a cool blend of like a modern and a vintage tone, and obviously the records are so classic rock, like rock and roll. I feel like that's a cool place to land with the Aguilar stuff of a middle ground of like you're not carrying around this, whatever John Paul Jones 60s acoustic or whatever. It's cool. How did you land on that? Did you ever go through vintage amps? Did you go through the vintage gear and then land on this?
The first record we did in Australia, so I couldn't bring my gear. And so he had like a vintage. It's just like a B15 for the clean, and then I honestly can't. It was like a weird 70s Ampeg that I'd never seen before that we used for the clean that I ran all my pedals into, and
cool.
And then he ran that into a Marshall 412.
Nice.
And then blended those along with a DI also.
Sure.
And then the second record was all my gear, which was actually like half of the record. Like the clean was an SVT, like an old vintage one, and then the overdrive was my AG700. And then again, we blended those, and I was using a red DI.
Yep.
Yeah, tough.
Lots
to beat.
of love
tough
for
to
the
beat.
red.
Which
you go ahead.
broke my tour with the red Black Crow, so now I don't bring it out anymore.
Oh no, that's awesome.
So that's on the first record. You're saying 4 total signals of your bass, or 3?
It was three DI, clean and dirty.
Okay, cool. And then on the second record, you were 2 signals.
No, it was the same. It was DI, clean and dirty.
Oh, okay. I understand.
Just different amps.
Yeah, when you're doing this live too, where are you taking your signals out? Are you using the DIs on the AG700s to get? I don't
like the DIs off the amp. Actually, I was using the red until it broke, and then once I got into the 2 amp thing, I just stopped using a DI.
Oh, they're miking it.
Yeah, they're miking it both because like I would get recordings back, and like sometimes the front of house guy would be pushing the DI,
right?
And like my whole thing is like I like the sound of my pedals going through speakers and like pushing air. Like it sounds Like, and if you hear like these pedals just straight off the DI off the head, they kind of sound like garbage. So I was like, I'm going to take that option away from my house guy.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Do you have a mic preference by chance? Like, are you traveling with your mics, or is it whatever the house thinks is best?
I use a 421.
Okay.
Sweet.
Yeah, like, like the Tom mics. That's what I use on all the records. So I was like, I'm getting one.
Heck yeah. They're awesome. They're like a better 57.
Yeah, exactly.
They're also like 4 times more expensive than a 57.
I got really lucky. I got mine for like, they had some crazy sale in Sweetwater, and I got it for like $200.
Awesome.
Sweetwater loves
it was a pandemic sale,
Yeah. And then you got to do the like gaff tape around it because the clips kind of come off sometimes.
Yeah.
Or the bread tie through the little hole. Anyway, I'm totally into those because I had to go down that route. So what cabinets, since you're miking it, what cabinets are you using? Because that really matters.
I use the Aguilar SL212.
Okay, sweet.
For my overdrive, and then like I have like an old Aguilar GS410 also that I bring out, and that's usually the clean one. And then in Europe, I'm using the 410s, the DB 410s.
Yeah.
When I'm renting it, I just go like top of the line.
Right. That's what I was about to say. Are you foreseeing that when you get back to the States, you're going to be like, yeah, I want the heavy stuff again?
Yeah, I just gotta like, Aguilar obviously gives me a deal, but it's not free, so it's still pretty expensive.
Yeah.
So
it's
kind of
nice
like
stuff.
Yeah, it's nice stuff. And maybe I'll do it in the fall because we're going back to Europe again in the summer, and then we're not going to do a U.S. tour till the fall. So I'm thinking maybe then will be the time.
Yeah, totally.
Right on. Is that European deal? Is that you guys headlining everywhere?
This time it is. Yeah.
Nice, dude. Who were you guys with previously in the UK?
So over the summer we did like 10 shows with Rival Sons, and then like 6 with Guns N' Roses, and 2 with Kiss, and then a bunch of festivals.
Gee whiz.
It's awesome.
Just throwing them, man. That's
it was cool.
Nice.
Yeah, Gene, like, where would we play with it? We played at like Budapest with Kiss, and like I met Gene, and like somebody brought him like 50 crepes or something like that. And he stopped me and he's like, eat a crepe. And I was like, I don't really want it. He's like, eat it. And I had to eat like, it was weird. It was a weird experience to meet Gene Simmons, and he's like forcing food down your throat.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's hilarious. Yeah. So you said that's in Budapest. Are you going to get to repeat any venues by chance, or are you like all new places?
Well, because most of the venues were either festivals or like, arenas or stadiums. Cool. So this headlining tour we're doing between like 300 to like 1,000 seat venues.
Nice.
It's our first time headlining over there.
Yeah, right on. And you said they're going over there for like a month, right?
6 weeks.
Nice. Right on.
Yeah.
That'll be cool. Do you want to, let's talk about basses, if that's okay.
Yeah. So this one is my main bass. This is made by a guy named Seth Lee Jones. He's out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it's my custom bass. I mean, I don't have like a line or anything, but it's made by specifications. It's basically like a 61 Jazz deck.
Yep.
And a 63 Peabody, and I've got Bartolini pickups in it. It's a Goto bridge, stacked knobs or whatever.
Are the pickups passive or active?
Passive.
Cool.
So I run around a lot on stage, and I have a bad tendency to like pull my cord. So
true.
He did this little custom job because I ripped this out.
Nice.
Yeah, and he did like a lot of cool details too. There's the frets are turquoise, which I really like.
Sick.
That's so.
Yeah, and he reliced it. Like it took like I ordered it. It took him like 2 years to make it because like he put the body in a fridge for 6 months to get it, to relic like this.
That's awesome.
Sorry.
What's it weigh? Like roughly?
So I don't know, like a normal bass.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
It's not notably. That's such a nerdy bass question.
I know.
I was like, what's it weigh?
That's my.
It's 9 3 ounces.
And then it's stack knob, right? Like you've got volume and then volume under it, and then
it's volume tone.
Okay, cool.
This is the one I want to know about.
Yeah, this is my non-reverse Thunderbird. So they just came out with these like last summer or 2021. And we toured with Slash a bunch. Like that was he was one of our first early supporters.
Cool.
Very cool. And I saw Todd Kearns, his bass player, had gotten one of these like before they even released them. And so 2021 we were opening up for the Black Crowes for their whole Shake Your Money Maker tour. We did like 10 weeks with them. Nice. And the first night, the first 2 nights were in Nashville, and Gibson's a big supporter of the band, and we went over to the president's house, and like he had a chef make us dinner, and he took us up to his room where he's got like hundreds of vintage Les Pauls, and like he's got like the best collection of like Gibson vintage stuff in the world.
Sure.
Sorry, that was off topic. Anyways, a couple weeks later, I see Todd playing one of these, and I message Cesar, which is his name, on Instagram, and I was like, "Oh, do they make this thing left-handed?" And he says, "No, but we're going to make you one." And then a couple weeks later, we were driving through Nashville, and it was ready, and our tour manager picked it up for us. And then so this one's really cool because you can see it's got like a reverse headstock too. The first one they made for me didn't. It had like the normal headstock. And like I was saying, I run around on stage, and this is kind of thin right here. And I literally like ripped this out, and the wood broke.
Whoa. Oh my gosh.
I'm such an idiot. And so I messaged him like, "Hey, this is broken. Can you guys fix it for me?" And so the next time we were in Nashville, I go down to the Gibson shop, and they built me another one. But I see this sitting on the rack too, because apparently they made 2 of these as like a prototype before making mine, because like they were just testing out how to make it left-handed. They're like, "Okay, let's start with a right-handed neck and throw it on, see if we can even do this." And I saw this sitting in the corner. I was like, "That looks freaking awesome. What is that?" Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, that was the prototype." I was like, "Give me that."
Right. Yeah. That's awesome.
Like, because nobody's going to have this. So this is my little special guy that nobody else can have.
That's awesome. Wonderful. One of a kind, dude.
Yeah. And I put Righteous Sound pickups in it because I just like these pickups a little bit better. But I've got another. They gave me 2. They gave me a backup with like the normal headstock too, which just has the stock pickups in it.
Nice.
Awesome. I feel like I'm seeing more and more of those reverse Thunder, or is it non-reverse? I always get them confused. Is it reverse?
Yeah, it's the non-reverse.
Non-reverse.
Mine's the non-reverse Thunderbird.
Non-reverse. That's so cool. Yeah, I feel like I'm seeing those more and more. Obviously, they're pushing them because they're so cool.
They're so cool. Like I have small hands, so it's like the neck's a little bit long for me. But I mean, it's so sometimes when I switch basses mid set, like I the first song I always like miss a note or two because like I'm like have to reach way farther.
Yeah.
But I love the sound of it. It's a killer bass.
How do you pick which bass goes for what song?
Man. So this bass is on. This bass is on every Dirty Honey recording. And there's a couple songs like Gypsy, Roland Sevens, where like I had them, what is this? 15, 17, 19. I had them add the dude add the 21st fret. Nice. I want that high E. And you actually hear me, I play it on a couple of songs. So any song that has that one, I have to play. I tried doing it on that one, and I would like bend it up. And the guys in the band were like, "I don't know about that." I mean, I would hit the note, but they didn't like the slide. They just wanted like the pure note or whatever. But yeah, I mean, anytime like a photographer's there, I try and play the blue one just because it looks really cool.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
Make Gibson happy seeing it.
Yeah.
It's super cool. It's very, I don't know, you see it and it just like oozes rock and roll.
Especially in blue. I feel like that's so dope.
It's a statement piece.
Yeah, I love the blue too. I almost got it. They had it in like I forgot what kind of green. It was like a lighter green. I almost went for that, and then this came, and I was like, I made the right decision. Yes.
Yeah.
We were opening for a band, and one of the guys was close to the Gibson people, and he had the kind of, it's like a teal off green.
Yeah,
situation.
That was the one I was looking at.
Yeah, and it's freaking cool too. At the end of it, it was like, well, I feel like every time I'm around a bass that's cool, I'm like, man, I got to have one of those. I got to get that at some point.
Yeah, I feel like Gibson's really stepped it up in the past couple of years. It is like making sure everything's like cool again.
Yeah, I agree. Is that is it a bolt on or a neck through? Oh, you don't even know, which is great. That's awesome. That's
my bass is a bolt on. Right. I don't know. I mean, this looks like it's one piece, so I think it is.
Sick. I know Gibson does the like stripy thing on the back or at least they used to.
No, not on this guy.
But that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Dude, that is awesome.
And then like I really like these straps. I get these from a guy in Brazil.
Nice.
Sick.
How'd you get connected to that dude?
Instagram.
Nice. Cool. The great uniter.
Yeah, the great uniter.
Sounds awesome. Familiar. Well, cool, dude. Could we maybe jump to your pedal board? I know we're drilling you with questions like rapid fire.
Oh yeah, weeds of here.
Okay, so I'll show you my current pedal board. Okay.
Beautiful.
Dude. Nice. Straight look at it.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is the dark glass. I pretty much have this on all times. This is Strymon Mobius. I use like the chorus and flanger on this.
Cool.
This is the Big Shot radial. I use this to split my signal tuner. MXR bass octave. I use this on the song Scars. This is an exotic mid boost. I basically just use this for my solos to kind of boost my signal a little bit. Pog. Also use it for my solos. Crybaby Mini. This is a really cool pedal. This is the MXR Submachine. And they modded it for me so I could actually turn the low octave on and off also, as well as the high octave. Nice. It's got a low octave and a high octave on it. It's a really cool like fuzz. And then this is the Deep Impact, which is with the guy.
Those are hard to find, right?
Yeah, I found it in Dublin actually this summer.
Nice.
And yeah, I haven't, we haven't made a new record, so I haven't used it on anything, but it's just like so cool. And you can get all the Muse sounds off of it. And it's like the envelope. It's a bass synth actually.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
So yeah, if you want to get like the Hysteria sound or any of that stuff, it's got like a cool
sound too.
The overdrive synth, but like it's also got like a great envelope filter if you want to do like that Stevie Wonder like bass synth kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Stevie Wonder's like one of my biggest influences too. Like I think his left hand is actually maybe the greatest bass player of all time.
Nice. Yeah. Right on.
So that's what I'm using now. But I didn't get that dark glass until like I ordered it, but it literally came like 2 days after we finished the last record. So before that, and I still love this pedal. I actually just did a gig a few days ago with some friends and I didn't want to bring my big board out. So I was using this dark glass, or not dark glass, this exotic BB bass preamp.
Yeah, totally.
Which is freaking awesome. And actually doing my gig the other day, I was like, I kind of want this back on my board. But this thing is this is on all the Dirty Honey records. This pedal was my overdrive on all of them.
Oh, sick.
Nice.
I've never actually used an overdrive in that way. Does it have an output gain, or like, are you ever concerned about, okay, so you just like try to drive it, but keep the output gain kind of consistent or generally in the area?
Yeah. I mean, since it's on all the time, I don't have to worry about it that much. It's just kind of like the level, but I do set it so that if I do want to turn it off, it's not like a huge, volume difference.
Yeah. Do you have a volume difference between your basses? Like, is that something you worry about? Or is it similar output levels and you don't really think about it?
They're pretty similar.
That's great.
I think the Gibson's a little bit louder, but not like...
Not have to care.
Doesn't really affect me on stage. I think it's something just like front of house.
Sure.
Probably
right.
It's a little bit.
Sure, nice.
I love that.
Hey, back to that Mobius. I want to talk about that one for a second. What are some tracks that you're using? And there's a couple ways to even use chorus, especially with the bass. Like at what moments are you thinking like chorus would be perfect here? And then is it like a lighter chorus, or is it like, oh, that's a wild chorus? Like I can't really think of.
I mean, I mainly use the chorus on I take a bass solo during the shows.
Nice.
Yeah, I watch some videos of that.
Yeah, so like there's like I kind of do like a harmonic kind of section, kind of I don't want to say a la Jocko because I'm not Jocko, but
I mean, there was only one.
Yeah, there was only one. So I use it on that mostly, and then the flanger I use for a different part of the bass solo where I'm more like got all the effects on and it's going crazy. Nice. And I also we did a cover of "Let's Go Crazy" by Prince.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
about. I used it.
I have to see this.
It's pretty sweet.
I have to see
it on that, and I just kind of use it like. I use it more freely, obviously live, like especially if John's taking a solo and I want the sound to be like kind of thicker,
sure,
and just like sound like a guitar. I'll throw like the flanger on, so it's like
big,
yeah. Sometimes people can use choruses to. I mean, they bring out certain frequencies in maybe like a sparkly way, almost in like a. You're not really going for like the wild chorusy effect, but just to like in a weird boosted EQ thing, rather.
Yeah, it brightens it up for sure.
Sure, yeah,
especially with the harmonics.
Totally. So that's cool. Right on.
Sometimes I'd have to worry about, at least when I did it in my band, I would have to find one that doesn't really chorus the low end, so that like the high end's kind of moving. But it also like kind of shows the role of the bass, or even like the role of when you slip up and you just hit that wrong note, and it's like the most catastrophic. Like it just shows the amount of control the bass frequencies have over the entire band when you throw on a pedal. Or when you throw on the wrong pedal and you learn like that was definitely the wrong pedal for this moment, kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
chorus is one of those that chorus is one of those that like you hit it, and even if you can't always hear it, there's an atmosphere change.
Yeah,
to me,
that's the worst too, because like I said too, like I run around the stage a lot, and especially on the big stages, like you go 20 feet away from your amp, like you can't really hear yourself.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you hear yourself through the PA a little bit, like enough to play, but like sometimes I've accidentally left those pedals on, and since I'm not standing in front of my amp, I don't hear that I've had a flanger on for like the whole verse.
True.
That's why it's up there out of the way now.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Do you guys use? I guess you don't use in-ears?
No.
Cool.
Rock and roll.
That's very rock and roll.
That's awesome, right? I miss that feel deeply.
Yeah. It's. I grew up in an environment where I'm always using in-ears, and then when I left that, it's the exact opposite, and it's such an interesting feel difference. Like I won't necessarily say one is right or wrong, but like as a musician, as a player, it feels way different. Because a lot of times too, then you're eliminating amps, and you're, and it's
it's definitely like a necessity for certain gigs. Like I've done pop gigs, and there's tracks, and there's no other option,
right?
And
totally.
I think just with what we're doing, it just works better for us right now. Like the only one on ears is our singer, and that's just because like he needs to block out the loud
it's hard to get a pitch reference.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Like a wall of wonderfully chorused bass sound.
That's awesome. On the gear front, what do you have your eyes on? You're like, I mean, especially if you're going over to Europe this summer, if you or soon, not this summer, this winter, I guess. Like, what are you going to see in a store? Like, what are you looking for in a store? Like, if I see that, I'm grabbing it. It's coming home.
Free CBS, Fender P, or Fender Jets.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I don't know if I'm going to drop $13,000 or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, and then ship it home and hope it makes it.
Yeah.
One of our last interviews was with a guy named Craig Berletic, and he plays for Tyler Childers, and they're doing really well right now. And so he recounted his story, like finding the pre-CBS Fender that, quote, changed him. So
it's really hard for me because I'm left-handed, and also because I'm left-handed. They're like, all right, let's add like a couple $1,000s under the price tag because it's more rare.
Yeah. Yeah. How has finding basses been, as a left-handed instrumentalist? Yeah.
That's why I had this bass made, because I was trying to find like a pre-CBS that I couldn't afford it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy's like just an amazing luthier. He was do you know who John Carruthers is?
I'm not sure.
He's a custom builder, but he was like the Fender guy in the 70s.
Oh, okay.
Like he like the first, Clapton signature Strat and all that. So he really knew what he was doing. And it's like, dude, I'll make you exactly what you want, for weight.
Right on.
And yeah, and it's so cool. Plus, too, like you weren't gonna find that J pickup in a pre-CBS Fender.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you
And
did, you've mangled it.
Yeah.
How much of that back pickup are you using? Do you blend them all, or do you go song by song?
No, I have them both. It's weird. So on this bass, if I turn them both up all the way, I lose a little bit signal.
Yep.
So I have to like roll the J pickup just back like 10%, and then that's actually the max volume.
Yep.
And then I usually have the tone turned up all the way on both of them.
Yeah.
Just for this band. Like if I'm playing on a record and it's clean and everything, obviously tone rolled all the way off. I mean, I've got a Fender P bass with flats on it too that I use for recording.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So it does depend on the song, but for this band, it's just like balls to the wall all out,
Yeah.
The PJ thing is interesting because there's a phase. Somebody online is about to get so mad about what I say, but I think there's like a phase cancellation situation where it's kind of like J pickups are made in a way that they're meant to go together, and the P and J pickup were never necessarily thought about going together until it became a mod later. I play an old Yamaha, and the old Yamahas are all known for a P and a J blade. But it's like whenever people ask me about PJs, it's like, yeah, but you need to make sure they work well together. And you kind of, just like you said, you got to find that spot where they're not canceling and scooping out your mids. Because when they're going full blast, it's just they're phase canceling certain frequencies. And like you bump one of them up or bump one of them down, and then you're like, oh, there it is. They're not just freaking each other out the whole time.
Yeah, because I honestly I prefer the sound of the P more, but there's a certain articulation you get out of having that jazz in there, which is I'm missing it.
Yeah, dude. If you ever run into, I know it's not as cool right now yet. Now the prices on Reverb are starting to skyrocketing because people are getting hit. But the 70s and 80s Yamahas that have this weird P pickup and they don't look cool. They like
it's a dad look.
It's such a dad look, and I have multiple ones now. But if you ever see one of those in a shop, like just give it a chance because it's awesome.
They sound great. The guy from Rival Sons, he had some of those, and like also great tone. And he was they had a cool front of house guy. He had some cool little secrets. They had like a little orange, like a tiny like little practice amp that they had in a box, but they would just crank that as his overdrive and turn that on for like guitar solo.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I love it.
I guess that's kind of got what got me into the whole overdrive thing in the beginning was like playing in a lot of trios, and like when a guitar player would go to take the solo, like you just lose like the aggression.
Right.
Yeah. I had a guitar player be like, try an overdrive, and then I just kind of got addicted to it.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, what are you into right now? What are you listening to?
What do we need to know about?
What should we be on alert for?
I gotta look at my phone. I don't even know what I'm listening to right now.
No, that's great. And again, we're putting you on the spot.
And maybe it's just like a deep cut off of
maybe it's British Baking Show.
Yeah.
Like whatever you're into.
Obviously like Jeff Beck just died this week, so I've been like diving back into that stuff, and like that Crossroads DVD that he made however long ago with Kyle Wickenfield.
Yep. Gosh, what a bass player.
Yeah, what a bass player. Like I learned that solo note for note that she did on Because We Ended As Lovers, however many years ago. So that was like a big thing for me. I've just been like kind of going back to the classics, like I kind of went through all of the Zeppelin records. We've been off for like 3 months, so I'm just kind of shedding. And
yeah, nice.
We're also like we're writing a new record, so actually I think that's been like my biggest focus is like kind of getting out here and just like trying to come up with riffs and stuff like that.
Totally.
Do you like to block like when you're in writing mode, are you blocking things out, or are you trying to go back to your influences to listen to how you can innovate that, or do you not think about it?
I try not to think about it, but I definitely end up like, I usually come out here and I'll like have my coffee and I'll put on a TV show and do my morning warm-ups and then play along to a couple of records to see if that inspires me to start finding some of my own riffs.
Yeah.
So I've been going through like the Zeppelin and like the Aerosmith catalogs.
Yeah, beautiful.
I also like you guys are country guys. I love Alison Krauss. And that live album that she did with Union Station, like that's kind of, I always go back to that because Jerry Douglas is like one of my favorite musicians ever. Like his dobro playing is just
absolutely
so lyrical and just so beautiful, and her voice too. It's just like she's an angel.
Oh yeah.
That's I'm into vinyl, as is kind of stereotypical these days, but like that is a release that is so expensive to get on vinyl that I'm like, please, for the love of God, somebody repress this, because like it's so cool. And it's just made to sit down and like listen to and experience in kind of a way that forces your attention. This is kind of a curveball.
Can't wait.
Again, yeah.
I also love Chris Stapleton. I'm going to just throw that in there. I'm just thinking, and Royal Blood. He's a big influence as far as tones goes, because he just gets crazy sounds out of his bass. And
what was that last one?
Royal Blood.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, I make him listen to Royal Blood all the time. It's mind-boggling bass tone.
Yeah, I saw them like I think over the summer or something. And I was like, dude, I've got to like pick your brain, because he's got like multiple amps and like he's dancing all around on the pedal board.
Is it 5 amps?
You know what? He had them off stage, so I couldn't geek out.
Hide them all.
Yeah,
right
on,
dude.
you.
Yeah, do you don't know about this guy?
I think is one of the covers like white and it's got like a black figure in it. Like,
yeah, I've definitely showed you.
Yeah,
I forced it down
I think
your
I've
throat.
listened to that before.
Yeah,
but it's just bass and drums, and he's like, he split this signal multiple times, and so he's always got like a bass, and then he's got like an octave up, an octave down, and he like turning things on and off, and it's pretty rad.
They're like, I don't know a better word for this, but the octaves are convincing, meaning like they sound not digitally octave up. I feel like sometimes they like an octave up with certain pedals sounds glassy or bubbly or weird, and his just sounds like Nirvana guitar tone. Like it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. But that's cool that you're looking to the side to some peers for tone influence.
Yeah, totally.
I tried to get some tone influence the other day. We opened for a rock band that's very good. And I got in trouble for like sleuthing around. They're like, "Hey man, don't take any pictures of that." I was like, "Oh yeah,
really?
I forgot." Yeah. Yeah,
I've heard Royal Blood's like that also, and same with Muse.
We did
a festival with Muse a couple of months ago, and I kind of like snuck over and was like, what's that? But like when you get into those big bands, it's just racks.
Yeah.
And like you actually need a tech to like pull out the rack with all the pedals and shit.
Yeah. We're hopefully talking to my friend Jimbo Hart from Jason Isbell's band coming up, and he's got all the rack and the Noble in there and all the stuff. Well, actually,
I've been looking at that Noble DI since my red broke.
It's kind of a running joke because I don't think we've done an episode that I don't accidentally mention the Noble. I've been using it. I love it. It's so cool, and it powers half my pedal board. So I don't know.
It's worth a look, but I mean, it's a 40.
Oh, somebody's not a fan.
No, I am. I don't have one because I couldn't wait 45 weeks to get one.
Because they're just so expensive, and then you have to wait like half a lifetime. I got lucky, and a friend got it and didn't like it. And I'm like, hey, man, I'll pay whatever you paid for that. Which is great because people just flip them.
Yeah. It's wild. No, I'm on an Arkham Oracle, which it's a similar vein. It's a tube preamp, but I used to be traveling with the rack setup where I was actually sending 2 lines, but now I'm just doing the 1 line through like just a little board. And I was like, Noble, and I was like, I've got to play gigs before next year, so we're gonna do something different.
The Arkham's cool because we never really felt like we got a full on overdrive, like maybe close to it or whatever, but it definitely saturates way more.
It's
where
cool.
the Noble sounds a lot closer to the Reddy or the Red DI.
Yeah.
But the EQ on the Noble is insane. That's
what's so cool about it is you can really actually dial it in. Where like the Red's just like, here you go.
There you go. Right. that's the
input level, but that's it.
Mm-hmm. And it's weird
But
too because it's only additive. You can't cut frequencies. You can only add with the Noble.
Oh,
and to
so
me,
what do you? Are you gonna end up like boosting like the mids, or like what do you do? Are you scoop? Oh, I guess you can't scoop.
well, so like boosting bass and treble equals less mids, like by default.
Yeah.
The sound I hear when I plug into it, and again, it's very subtle. I hear tube compression. I hear maybe the slightest bit of tube saturation, and to me, it pushes low mids a little bit. And then when you start adding a little EQ, that's when you sometimes maybe get a little bit less of its natural character. I usually end up with my treble about halfway, and then my bass up just a little bit. The bass knob just sounds like magic. I don't know how to like it. Just you turn it up, and everything sounds better. But it could get you in trouble because it like sounds so good. You don't want to stop just like putting up more bass and more bass and more bass. I also think maybe, I don't know, some things make your bass sound more brilliant or whatever, or more forward when you plug it in. I almost think the Noble like tightens it a little bit and makes it almost arbitrarily a little bit dark so that you then make it whatever. So it definitely is a character. You like it or you don't. I think we'll do a comparison video eventually, and it'll be a nice like because these tube DIs are expensive too, man. You can't just like get all these hand wired stuff in a room very often, and then even listening on YouTube, like again, we'll make a video eventually about it, but even that it's hard to represent what it sounds
so hard, like
you know.
Even if you've got like nice headphones and everything or nice speakers, it's like. It's not the same as being in the room with it.
Exactly. And I guess you're in a good spot in the country to hear some good gear, but it's still tough. I mean, you probably couldn't find a Noble sitting in a shop.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody can find a Noble.
I have a couple of friends with them, but like I never see him. You're not going to find them at Carson or anything.
Yeah. I bet the Tone Chase is pretty fun in LA, though. I mean, you got really cool stuff hanging around.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff. It gets to be a bit of an addiction. Like I just moved, or else I'd show you like I have a huge pedal collection. That's like half of it's in boxes right now.
Love it.
Yeah. Have you guys checked out? Do either of you guys use the Cali 76? Because that's actually, you guys asked me like gear I'm looking at. That's actually something I'm thinking about.
The big one or the little one? Because he's gone through both.
I've had both of them.
So I hear the big one's a little bit better, but I think there's one version of the little one that's pretty much the same. But so check out what is it, Ian Martinson or whatever, the guy from Scott Bass Lessons.
He's a cool dude. I like his character.
I like too, and he did a video on him. He's like, "Oh, there's a specific small one you can get that's like pretty much the same as the big one."
Yeah, I would agree.
Gotta watch that video again before I go buy it.
Right. I paid a pretty inflated reverb price for the big one, and it had the I'm gonna butcher it, Lundell. It had the Lundell transformer mod in it, which is the Lundell transformer one saturates the least because that is the same transformer that are in the real ones. Whereas some of the guitar players actually prefer the ones with the transformer they made themselves because it like overly saturates. So I found that one, I could kind of overdrive the unit, which was interesting and kind of cool. But like at the end of the day, the compact one is so cool, and I really missed having the clean blend. Because the one I had was the real one, and
that's
there's
what it was.
no
He's
mods.
like, you got to get the one with the clean blend,
right? So, like, of course he says that because he has the nicest one with all the mods they did because they would only do mods a couple times. Blah blah blah. All that you're gonna want the clean blend, and you're gonna want the high pass fill. You can choose for it to not compress your low end, so it listens to like your high mids instead of just your lows.
That's what I really wanted for because, like you guys said, like I play really high up on the deck a lot of the time, and sometimes like I'll hit a low E and then do that kind of stuff. So they're both rated at the same time, but like I had to hit those really hard for them to come out, and it's a little too much in like the mix. So like that's why I'm thinking about getting the compressor on there so I can really smack these guys, but not have them come out.
Yeah. I'm really into an API compressor. API just made a couple pedals. They make a guitar pedal, a guitar preamp, a bass preamp, and one compressor. So
I didn't know they were making pedals. That's cool.
Yeah. And so the CMP compressor is actually what I replaced my Big Cali with. I like how it sounds. It has a big transformer in it, and so it kind of does that. Even before it's on, you turn it on, and if you like the sound that it just gave you, you're gonna like it a lot. If you don't like the sound, you're gonna want something else because it definitely has. Not as much as you'd think. Not as much as like 290, 300.
No, what did you ask
for the API?
Well, I was wondering how much real estate does it take on your
said.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's small. It's like this big.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it has a transfer. Like I think it's great. It doesn't have that feature we just said with the high pass filter trigger thing. Mm-hmm. It's never been an issue for me because it does have that clean blend. I have personally really liked it because it still gave me that like really weighty sound that I like out of something that I'm like, it has to be old and heavy to give me this weighty sound. I feel like it got as close to that as I've had. It's been many years since I had the little Cali 76. I remember loving that too, but I'm into the API right now. If you ever get, while you're sleuthing around the internet,
yeah, dude.
I try to do that less nowadays. I'm just like,
dude, I feel that.
Stop, Justin.
Yeah, dude. Well, I was kind of thinking your board's actually pretty small for a guy that's got quite a few pedals. Yeah. I'm shocked you don't have like a 2-board setup or like just a Mongo board or whatever. Maybe you've gone through those phases.
The board. I mean, this was actually like the size of my pedalboard for the first year. And then once we started getting more hands, I upgraded to a bigger board. And now that we're getting more hands, I'm thinking about the big. More about I don't want to carry it myself.
Totally. Like, do I do 2? Do I put it in a rack and MIDI switch it? Like, well, the rock and roll move is to eventually get it away or someone else touch it.
Yeah,
I guess.
Exactly. So, baby steps.
Yeah, right on.
Dude, well, that's awesome. Is there anything you're promoting right now? Anything you want people to check out, especially with your band?
Well, we just re-released our tune Heartbreaker. We actually re-recorded it cool. With Al Sutton in Detroit. He's like did the first couple of Greta Van Fleet records.
Nice.
Sick.
So we're pushing that as a single in Europe for this upcoming tour. And we're really excited with how it came out because that song really kind of we wrote that right before we went to the studio for the first record. So we were kind of like still figuring it out in the studio. And I really loved the first recording, but it kind of took on more of a life of its own over the years on the road and really became a fan favorite. So we wanted to like capture that. Nice. Al's actually got a couple people that he works with. There's this guy Marlon who also produces with him. And so there's like a couple extra guitar lines in there. It's just like a little bit more produced where the first one's very raw.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. We also cut like a brand new song with him, which we're not going to release probably till the fall, but pretty bitchin'. I actually, I split my signal on that again and I had my clean, but for my overdrive, instead of using my pedal board, like I went into a Bletchley amp, which is just like a plexi clone.
Cool.
So it's like an actual like Marshall plexi kind of sound with my my clean tone.
Yes,
I was pretty stoked with that tone.
Yeah, right on.
That's one thing I haven't had the luxury yet to experience is like the Marshall bass tone, which I guess high watt is kind of like that, or I don't
know.
It's like that UK tubey thing.
Well, I just found out recently, like this year, that Marshall actually made like bass amps in the 60s.
Oh, no.
Right. Yeah.
That had the overdrives and everything, but they were like voiced for bass and the speakers were voiced for bass.
Oh, cool.
Right on.
I haven't actually found one in person, but that's actually something I'm going to be on the lookout for also.
Yeah, totally.
Was it Chris Squire? I feel like Chris Squire might have played a Marshall. I don't know. A bunch of like.
I think Jack Bruce played one.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
I mean, Lemmy, I guess.
Oh yeah.
As I said, that one's hard to forget. He's like, well, I'll just go ahead and just turns up cranks the amp, all the knobs. But yeah, that's a little different Marshall style.
No, it's so cool though.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
If you're blending that with a clean, nice.
It's like a razor's edge, dude. Right on. Well, man, thanks so much for giving us the time and hanging out. Love talking to
him. Man, thanks for having me on. This was fun.
Absolutely. Huge fan of the band.
I don't get to talk bass nerd stuff enough.
Yes, sir. Man. Anytime. Come back and hang. Let us know when you get some new stuff. So.
Yeah, if you're ever in Lexington, Kentucky.
Well, we'll probably come through Kentucky. We played Exit 111 a couple years ago.
Where's that?
I don't know if they do that festival anymore.
Was that Louisville?
Yes, it was Louisville.
Okay. Yeah. Well, which is like 45 minutes away from us.
Well, they do rock and roll stuff in Louisville, so maybe we'll come up and hang out with you there.
Actually, whenever we see it, we'll have to make it down.
What was it that we did in Louisville? It was a different one that we did this year.
Was it Bourbon and Beyond, or was it the there's the real rock and roll one?
Yeah, it wasn't.
I know what you're talking about.
Louder Than Life.
It was called Louder Than Life. Yeah, we did that this year.
Wasn't Nine Inch Nails there? Sorry, I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan. I think
so. We did another festival with them this year, also in like Georgia. They were awesome.
Yeah, I can't get started there.
Great band.
Man.
Oh my God.
I think it's a bass player band too, because it's like so groove focused.
Yeah.
It just lends itself to that like the whole time.
Yeah, and it's one of those gigs where you're like, oh, I want that because I could like bring all my pedals and like
exactly.
Just really get in.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Get into the weeds with that kind of stuff.
Well, thanks again, man. We're looking forward to seeing you whenever you're in the area. And this has been awesome.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Yeah, and I have a terrible memory, but if we're coming through and you see us, just reach out and I'll get you guys tickets or whatever.
For sure,
man.
Yeah.
We got to cut this out of the podcast. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, cut that out.
Right. Yeah.
Don't let them know.
All right. See you, man. Thanks again.
All right, later, guys.